Hi there, it's Dave from Running Start Australia. Today we're going to go through a yoga stretch and mobility routine to help you recover after your runs and if you're just feeling a little bit tight. We're going to focus predominantly on your legs, a little bit on your lower back. So do what feels good for you during this practice. Some of the moves might be a little bit uncomfortable if you've got tight hips or legs, but that's part of the fun of yoga and stretch, is that we can start to explore our body and understand our imbalances, what's tight and what's feeling good for us. So let's get started. First of all you're going to need today is a yoga mat or a nice cushy place to be. No other prerequisites for you. We're just going to sit down your butt, grounding your sit bones, taking the feet just about hip distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. And then all we're going to do from here is just pivoting on your sit bones. Start to drop the knees from side to side. So you want to kind of keep the midline of the foot anchored to the floor. And just lift the hips as necessary. Now what we're doing here is we're mobilizing the hip joint and we're moving your hips through interior and exterior rotation. Depending on how you run, whether you pronate, supinate, you're flat-footed or neutral, you might end up having more stress and strain through either the interior or the exterior. So it's always just a good idea to start right here. If you're finding that you're getting stuck at one point on the inside or the outside of your leg, just take note of that. So if you're feeling, I'm getting a little bit of tension when I roll over to this side, to my right along the interior, so I right down the middle of my legs, so I'm going to say my adductors are a little bit tight on that side. Just going to move through this flow a few times, maybe about 10 or so each side, just to warm your legs up. We want to slowly start to mobilize before we get in a little bit deeper. Alright, one more time. Okay, let's start to get a little deeper into your hips now. Let's set up for swan stretch. So, if you have really tight hips or you're just getting started, what you might want to do here is simply bend your front knee to a 90-degree angle and bend your back knee to a 90-degree angle as well. And then simply bring your body over your knee, tipping from the hip, so we don't want to round through the back. We want to keep your back nice and long, and then just start to sit forward. The purpose of this is to stretch this back glute. The knee that's bent at the front, that glute there. So we can simply sit down. Now, if you're comfortable with that and you want a little bit more, just straighten out the front leg. Now, when you do this, you can have a bit of a play around this front foot, either tucking the heel in towards the groin and sitting down, or to progress it a bit further, you can draw the foot a little bit further out to the side before you sit on down. And we just want to find that glute stretch. Again, focusing on long spine, don't want to round too much, and just keep working your way down. Now my hips are going to be quite high throughout this. If you find it more comfortable, you can be up here as well and start to work your way down. You can have a bit of a wiggle around as well, just shifting your body weight from side to side. I'm just going to breathe and soften down. So you should feel a stretch to the side of the butt in your glute med. I'm just going to hold this for a few breaths. When you feel like you're starting to really get in there, you might settle down. Now, if you've got really good hip mobility and you want even more, another great choice is just to draw your chest over the back thigh and settle on down. And that's going to bring even more intensity. For me, I get plenty here. All right, let's change sides. So take your time, lengthen out the back foot this time, flexing the foot or extending it out, and then start to sit down into the glutes. Shift from side to side till you find the sweet spot. This is all about exploration. So what works for you mightn't work for the next person, right? It's where we give you different choices, different things to think about. Let's take 2 more big breaths. Soften down. Alrighty. So now we've mobilized a little bit through the hip socket and we've mobilized a little bit through the glutes. Let's get through the adductors. So the inner thigh. Now, a lot of people might complain of tight hips, And we focus on stretching and rolling the front, the quads, rec fem, VL, VM, but we don't always give a lot of love to our adductors, which is actually one of the biggest muscle groups in our hip complex. So really important we give it some love as well. Now for this one, if you're not on carpet or something nice and spongy, you might want to double up a mat just to protect your knees. So I'm going to take my knees nice and wide, and then I'm going to start to sit back and down into my hips. And as I do so, I'm just going to focus on pressing backwards and opening through my hips. So this is your first option, and this is our child's pose, or wide child's pose, where the knees are nice and wide. If that's feeling good and you're after a little bit more, just bring the feet out. So you're turning the toes so they face outwards, your knees in line with ankle, and then same as before, pressing back with your hips, like you're trying to find a seat behind you with your butt. And depending on how you're feeling, you might go straight away. You might feel it right in the groin. You might feel it further down the leg. But all we want to do is just find the point of tension and just kind of hang out there for a little bit and use our breath. Breathing in, softening down. Breathing out, releasing. You can rock the body weight forward slightly here, so you might come forward a little bit, press it back. Just small, subtle movements. It's not a big movement. Come in and then out again. Breathe. It's such a wonderful hip opener. A wonderful way to prime and prep your body, as well as to use a foam roller through the adductors before you try and do this stretch. Just laying down on your sort of belly, sticking one leg out to the side and giving a bit of a slow roll up and down. All right, let's bring the feet together now. And we're going to come on up to our feet. So now we've mobilized the back of the legs, we've mobilized the hips a little bit more. Let's get into your hamstrings. So I'm going to come to a forward fold now. So feet just under your hips. I want to keep the hips high and lifted, and we're just going to begin to tip forward. And as we do so, we're just going to let the chest lay down towards your thighs. Now, everyone's going to have different hamstring and leg mobility here. So if you need to, just keep bending the knees so you can find a comfortable place. Hands can be on the floor. You can hold on to the legs if that helps. I like to hold on to my legs a little bit. And again, have a bit of a play here, especially if you've maybe done a run earlier today or yesterday and this is your recovery day. You can use a little bit of dynamic movement to just lengthen the muscles. Just thinking about slowly rocking your body, allowing the muscles to come through. Nothing big. Even shifting the weight from one foot to the other and walking the legs out to bring some dynamic movement. So this is really going to lengthen not only the lower back, but also the hamstrings. So that's just from the base of your glute about halfway up the thigh. Just going to hang out here. Bit of a walk. If this is uncomfortable to do like this, one of my favorite modifications for this, if you've got a lounge or a chair that's close by, just having your hands on that chair or lounge surface and being able to chill out can be really nice as well. Breathe. Let's take a few more breaths here, softening down. Such a beautiful winter's morning out here. Blue skies and sunshine. Just a little bit of wind. All right, so now we've kind of primed the hamstrings a little bit. One of my favorite hamstring moves, which is pyramid. So from this position, we're just gonna step one leg back. My feet are still hip distance apart. Knees are bent, and then I'm going to straighten both of my knees. And that's going to be my primary focus, keeping my knees straight, my whole leg straight. Then, lifting my spine tall, I'm going to start to hinge from my hips and send my chest over my knee. And then you're going to find that sticking point where you get a beautiful hamstring stretch right through the front leg. Hands can rest to the floor. I'm usually up here on my shin, but we want to prioritize long, straight legs, long, straight spine. So just slide the shoulders back, everything softens, and breathe. So we should feel this coming into focus on the front thigh. Just imagine pressing your butt backwards and trying to draw the crown of your head forward. So your body's kind of splitting in two the whole time, sitting down to that front leg and trying to keep the weight distributed evenly between your front foot and your back foot. Again, this can be another good one to bend that front knee slightly and then come back in. You can use this sort of dynamic movement to find some new depths. All right, let's change sides. Stepping the other foot back now, hip distance apart. Straighten both of your legs, nice and tall. Imagine you're trying to get your booty back. So I'm going to push the butt back, spine is long. And then find your support. Again, another fantastic one to be done on the couch because it just takes all the pressure off the upper body. But I'm using my shin today. This is definitely probably my absolute go-to for a hamstring stretch because if I'm not going to do any other hamstring stretch, pyramid's probably one of the best for me personally because I can feel it immediately. And it's just a really lovely full leg stretch, which doesn't require me to get into a weird contorted position, especially if I'm feeling a little bit sore or just wanting to have a bit of a relax after a run. I don't necessarily want to get on the ground. So just being able to do this is really wonderful. All right, bend your knees. We're going to keep progressing with these forward folds now to try and target different areas of the legs. We're going to step feet really wide. We're going to take a wide forward fold. So we're going to still focus on the hamstrings, but we're going to get a little bit of adductors now as well. So both of your toes point straight forward and you want to ground through all four corners of your feet, the front, the back, and the sides. Glue them down into your mat. Now, all we do is we start to bring our body weight forward. Again, a long spine here. And then think about re-anchoring your feet. Pressing through the sides and letting your head hang. Now, we can start to walk the hands forward a little bit. Keep pressing hips back. If the legs or hips are really tight, you might just be up here on the fingertips and just pressing backwards. Breathe into the softness. And we should feel kind of these two different axes of stretch here. Back of the leg, inner thigh. So it's another good mobilizing. You might take a little shift, a little shimmy from side to side as well. That's really fun. If you've got really good mobility, you might just be down on the forearms. You might even have your head towards the ground as well. Just find that really good place. Just draw the fingertips over to one side now and bring the chest as close to your thigh as you can, while still keeping the legs straight. It's going to really zone in more on the hammy. And let's just take it across to the other side. Laying the chest down. These are great regression moves if you're struggling with forward folds or anything sitting down, especially if you have tight hips. Because we can do the same moves, but we're standing up. Okay, let's come down. Speaking of sitting down, let's come down to your mat now. We're going to come to a half forward fold. So what we want to do is we want to lengthen out one leg and then bring your other foot in towards your thigh. Spine is long and your sit bones are grounded into the earth. And then all we're going to do here is just draw our chest looking over that bent knee, reaching your other hand towards your foot or towards your calf, and we're going to add a side bend. So when we add the side bend, imagine drawing your elbow and your armpit skywards and then dragging it over, creating a big rainbow with it. Keep the sit bones grounded, butt stays on the ground. And the purpose of this, not only we're stretching this back hamstring, but we're also lengthening this back glute. You're lengthening the lower back. Just breathe. As you exhale, just feel the hamstrings and the legs start to let go. Notice if you're actively tensing anywhere. So if the quad's really tight, tensing, just try and soften it. Alright, release the arm. We're going to square our hips and shoulders off, back to the knee. And now we're just going to draw the chest towards the knee. Again, long spine. It's really important that the hinge comes from the hips. If we just roll from the upper back, there's not much happening here. So we need to keep the leg back straight. You can bend the knee a little bit to draw it up towards the nose. If you're struggling to reach anywhere through to your feet or holding onto your shins, it can be really good to either use a yoga strap or an exercise band, one of the rubbery bands, to just hook around your foot to give you something to hold on to. Even a piece of rope, anything you've got will just really help you. Alright, let's switch to the other side. Just lengthen out the other leg. Bring the other foot into your thigh. Turn your body towards the back knee. Sorry, I'm going to turn away from you now. Reach long. And then bring the arm up and over. Visualizing that rainbow drawing up of the rib cage. Trying to create some space between the ribs. And just breathing. Just like any practice, like running, it's important that we maintain our bodies and we keep practicing this. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Alright, release the arms. Draw the body back over that front leg. And settle on down. Bring the feet together now. So we're just going to finish off with star. So soles of your feet come together, knees go wide. Hands can stay behind if you like. Or if you're looking to, if you still got a little bit of tightness through here and you still want to do a little bit of work, just bring the forearms and your elbows towards your thigh and gently press down. Kind of a bit of a shimmy from side to side. You might hold on to the feet as well. Do the same thing. Closer you draw the butt towards the heels, more intense this is going to be. This is going to be this final hip opener. If this is really tight, would definitely recommend getting on a foam roller and stretching out the inner thigh as well. And release the legs. Whew. One more stretch. One more stretch. Come on over. Want to target just the lateral part of your leg. You've got your bicep femoris, which comes from the outside of the thigh all the way under towards the kneecap. And this one can get really tight as well with the hamstrings. Sometimes you might associate it with the hamstrings. So, lying on the back, holding onto the foot, holding onto your leg, either just behind the thigh, maybe up to the calf. And then all we're going to do is just use our top hand to pull the foot towards us and draw it across your body. Now I want to make sure that your shoulders stay on the ground, the hips remain still and level. This is another one I would definitely recommend doing with a yoga strap or with an exercise band, because you can hook it around the foot and you can just sit and hold it. You can also replicate a very similar move while you're actually standing. But you should feel this just across the back of the leg. Alright, release the foot. Let's take the other leg up. Press the heel towards the sky, settle your shoulders down. And hold on to the thigh, or to your ankle, to your calf. And then just draw the leg across your body. Feels so good. So good. Alright, let's finish by bending the knees, drawing knees in towards chest, giving your spine a little bit of a massage into the ground. Feels good. And then we're just going to roll on up. And that's us done. It was just a really nice, chill, easy yoga stretch. Little session to remobilize your hips and to remobilize the legs. If there's anything in there that you found really challenging or that felt really good for you, maybe have a bit of a play and experiment around with that and maybe incorporate that into your stretching and mobility routine on a more frequent basis. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Dave. I'm from Running Start Australia. If you would like some more information, you can always hit us up on our website, runningstartaustralia.com.au. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.